Vishnu. Mandalam 1, Suktam 22B. Rishi, Medhatithi Kanva, Devata, Indrani, Varuni, Agneyi, Vishnu. Chandas, Gayatri. Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik
12.
यें घ्राणीमुपह्वये वरुणानीं स्वस्तये अग्नायीं सोमवीदये.
I call near here Indrani, wife of Indra, Varunani, wife of Varuna, for well-being and happiness, Agneyi, daughter of Agni, for drinking Soma. The stuff of gods and goddesses. In the context of the legend and its possible import, described in Mandalam 1, Suktam 19, verse 3, the antecedents of the wife of Indra, Indrani, also called Shachi, is attempted to be established. Legend has it that she was the daughter of an Asura, a mortal and descendant of Kashyapa and Diti, but married to an immortal. She was beautiful to look at and eloquent. Looking at a bit of science again, metallic bonds are bonds that are formed between metals. Elements situated in the middle part of the periodic table form such bonds, one of them being gold. Perhaps the personified Indra was enamored by the golden hue of personified Shachi and the unuttered eloquence of gold to propose to her, which she accepted. Metallic bond exhibiting ionic bond characteristics made her eligible to be an immortal and reside in heaven with Indra. Varunani, also called Varuni, is much more mundane. She represents wine, is organic in nature with covalent bonds, and is earthbound, residing in the oceans with her husband Varuna. Legend has it that Agneyi is the daughter of Agni and the name means fiery. Agni is said to be resident in both heaven and earth. Acids come in both varieties, inorganic and organic. Those without carbon in the mix form inorganic acids, while those with carbon form organic acids. Going by the association that inorganic compounds dominate heaven and organic reside on earth, acids as a group with the common trait of being fiery could be represented by Agneyi. As it is with the description in the earlier referred verse, this description too is a shot in the dark on the premise that Vedic verses represent truths of nature and Vedic composers have this penchant for using extreme metaphors to convey their point. If the correlations were to be valid, both verses, the one cited and the one here, represent chemical bonding between elements of the periodic table and identify compounds that exist dominantly on Earth and its atmosphere.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik
13.
महीद्यौः पृथिवी च न इमम् यज्ञम् मे विक्षताम् विवृताम् नो भरीमभिः
Let great heaven and earth be situated in this sacrifice from us. Let them ferry us over by their nourishments. The universe within us. There is more than one instance in the life story of Vasudeva Krishna where he reveals his universal form. This verse asserts in the form of an invocation that everyone can experience this state of being where they realize that heaven and earth are within themselves with the grace of knowledge. Yet again, three axioms, but different ones this time, come to our aid to establish that this is not a vainglorious assertion. The axioms are A. The oft-mentioned Upanishadic adage that everything, a part of the whole, and what remains of the whole after the part is removed, are whole. B. Yet another oft-mentioned Upanishadic saying which declares that every subordinate system in the universe is a fractal of the universal system. And C. The common genealogical origins of the universe and ourselves, spiritually and materially. On the basis of these three axioms, the practice of humans to project their own form and traits upon natural forces in a bid to personify them and call them gods could be reversed with the universe being projected into humans. This is a possibility in principle at least. It can become a reality if there is also the birth of divinity in our consciousness, which will be a consequence of grace. As mortals, however, this reverse projection can at best be ephemeral. So will be the bliss derived from being in that state very briefly. Things will revert back to the script of existence and our designated roles in it immediately after.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik
14.
तयोरिद्धृतवत्तयो विप्रारिहन्ति धीतिभिः गन्धर्वस्य ध्रुवे पदे.
Indeed, lucid drink of these two that illumined seers lick with thoughts in eternal region of Gandharva. Knowledge, knowledge everywhere, if one cares to perceive. Heaven and earth are the source of all knowledge about the universe that they dwell in for the inhabitants of earth. They together bestow as much knowledge as is necessary for life forms to conduct their lives, fulfill their responsibilities, and meet their aspirations. The obligation of seeking and accessing knowledge is, however, upon the life forms by whatever means that is available to them as per circumstance, ability, and mindset. Contemporary science fabricates tools and formulates standards for this purpose. Vedic seers seem to have adopted quite other means like yogic practices that led to special abilities to gather knowledge. The exercise very simplistically and whimsically referred to as linking with thoughts. Every possible knowledge about the manifest universe is available in what is conceptualized as flowing waters that stream through or pervade the three regions: earth, mid-region or atmosphere, and heaven, outer space. For the sake of simplicity, the atmosphere and outer space together are referred to as heaven. It stands to reason that this universal knowledge must be embedded in the material objects, their relative movements, the vibrations they generate, the effects that they cause, and the telltale signs they leave behind. Seers and scientists sift through these signs and signals with the wisdom bestowed upon them by ordainment to piece together the ever-present knowledge and disseminate it to their less endowed folks. If the three words God, knowledge, and truth are synonymous, which they most probably are, then the popular saying that God resides in every particle and its articulation, Karna Karna Me Ram, is absolutely true.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
15. Earth, do be propitious and thornless abode, do grant to us well-extended prosperous happiness. A frame distinctive for each era. Every ask in a Vedic verse invariably seems to be an assertion. This demeanor can be attributed to two reasons. The first is the ordainment of activities, and the other is the expectation of humility and modesty in the wise. The earth was endowed by time with the connivance of the natural forces to have an ideal setting for a reasonably long period, with perfect regulatory mechanisms for the earth, its atmosphere, the solar system it was part of, the sun that provided it with all manner of energy that it needed, the galaxy around whose center the solar system revolved, and the universe where all this was situated. Such a setting made life to appear, evolve, and flourish upon it, which can definitely not be said about the other planets of the solar system or any of their satellites, some of which are comparable with the Earth in size. For us mortals, our abode, the Earth, is truly propitious and thornless, as wished for in the verse. The prosperous happiness mentioned is not only to do with that which comes with material possessions. It is knowledge about our earth, about the way it works, and about the way it integrates with the universe that provides vastly greater happiness and leads one to even more of it beyond the material realm. One thing that comes to mind in this context is the lamentation from certain quarters about the loss of ancient knowledge with the advent of modernity. Knowledge is a commodity that is eternal and present all around us all the time. There is certainly something that is lost with the passage of time, but it is only the manner that knowledge is framed in a particular era, not the object that was framed. It can always be reframed and perhaps even better if we care to.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
16.
अतो देवा वन्तु नो यतो विष्णुर्विचक्रमे पृथिव्याः सप्तधामभिः.
From there, let gods promote us, from where Vishnu had proceeded from earth with 7 dwelling places. The journey to meet our Maker. The Purusha Suktam
Mandalam
10,
Suktam
90,
Rik.
1 to 16 describes how Vishnu, the manifest unmanifest, expanded and in the process created matter from the subtlest Akasha to the grossest Prithvi, progressively in that order. These are the 5 elemental principles: Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa and Prithvi. Mortals reside at the lowest level of this planar universe, but possessing a genealogical connect with the Supreme from which everything in existence has evolved, have this inherent yearning to explore their roots and trace their ancestral connect back to Vishnu. Every mortal being an elemental Vishnu, the path that a seeker treads in this endeavor crossing 7 milestones is perhaps visualized as the 7 dwelling places of which earth or Prithvi is the first, being the starting point. This journey in fact happens within our mortal frames, where the 7 rest houses along the path are called chakras. Now, this yearning, referred to as Kundalini, rises up 1 chakra at a time. Having reached the 3rd, it would have
Arrived at
the threshold where the gross elemental principle transitions to a more subtler state. The 4th chakra witnesses another transition to the last 3 rest houses that are the subtlest. Upon reaching the 7th, the elemental Vishnu perceives the universal Vishnu and experiences the bliss of being united with its parent, and the purpose of the journey is achieved. This is a mystical yet reasonable description of the journey that every mortal aspires to undertake, to meet and be united with its Maker.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
17.
इदं विष्णुर्विचक्रमे त्रेधा निदधे पदम् समूढवस्य वां सुरे.
Here, Vishnu had penetrated in 3 parts in continuance, had upheld the region, utter extirpation in dusty place of this one. Chakras and the elemental Vishnu. Continuing with the theme of the previous verse, the elemental Vishnu is seen to have made 3 transitions on his journey to unite with the universal Vishnu. The first 3 chakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana and Manipuraka, represent earth, water and fire principles respectively. The first step of Vishnu covers these 3 chakras, and the first transition or penetration happens immediately after this step. The second step covers a single chakra, anahata, represented by the wind principle. The second transition or penetration happens immediately after this step. The third and final step of the elemental Vishnu spans the last three chakras, Vishuddhi, Ajna and Sahasrara, represented by space, perception and consciousness, respectively. Upon attaining the state of consciousness happens the third penetration or transition and the union with the unmanifest. Contemporary science says that the formation of the solar system happened with the gravitational collapse of a part of the molecular cloud, mostly containing hydrogen molecules, which is romantically called stardust. The rest of the cloud flattened into a planetary disk, out of which the planets, moons, and asteroids formed. While retracing the path of the original Vishnu, the elemental one comes across this now extinct and extirpated dusty place.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
18.
त्रीणि पदानि चक्रमे विष्णुर्गोपादाभ्यः अतो धर्माणि धारयन्.
Vishnu, trustworthy herdsman, had proceeded 3 steps, so maintained natural laws. Mimicked laws of nature for mortal use. Continuing to dwell on the theme of Vishnu's 3 steps in the 2 previous verses, the original Vishnu would have taken his 3 steps in the forward direction, in a direction exactly opposite to the one that the elemental Vishnus do, to create the universe that we live in. Multitudes of molecular clouds would have come first, followed by their individual collapse to become stars, some of whom that had sufficient mass of cloud remaining to form multiple planets, moons, and asteroids, proceeding to do so, followed by the evolution of life forms in planets that had ideal conditions. This range of activities were shaped by universal laws of nature that were herded to do the task universally by the trustworthy herdsman Vishnu. As the universe is still evolving, with new stars being made all the while, the laws continue to be maintained. Mortal bodies being functional replicas of the universal body, these laws are maintained within us as well. Yogic practices mimic the functionalities of the natural laws to enable elemental Vishnus to successfully undertake the 3-step return journey back to the Maker. In form, these mimicked laws, formulated using mortal behavior, expressions, and abilities, may appear quite different, but will be functionally similar. One cannot but marvel at the wonderful notion of being able to accomplish a journey that spans an infinite distance, the one that the original Vishnu made, by journeying a distance that is as much as about half the height of a human, assuming other mortals are ill-equipped to do it. One also marvels at the ingenuity and acumen of seers who thought of it and formulated the mimicked laws, no doubt by the grace of Vishnu himself.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
19.
विष्णोः कर्माणि सर्वाणि पश्यत यतो व्रतानि पस्पसे इन्द्रस्य युज्यस्सखा.
To behold rule-based deeds of Vishnu, from where he made clear natural laws, kinsman and companion of Indra. Every mortal a personified elemental truth. Vishnu is knowledge personified, and knowledge can only be rule-based and expressed reasonably and according to unimpeachable logic. The name Vishnu translates as the one who pervades, expands, or diffuses. He pervades everything created, expands into every nook and niche, diffuses into every cranny or crevice, and expresses himself in a zillion ways. All such expressions must work synchronously to make the universe as one system. Indra, his constant companion and kinsman, does this job of regulation and synchronization. His 3 steps discussed in the earlier verses are rule-based as well. The movement of every one of his body parts involved in moving is accomplished by definite physical laws and rules, coordinated by Indra. This human construct of natural laws and their inbuilt regulatory mechanism as 2 individuals working in tandem appears to be a great way to explain the laws of nature to humans of all ages. For it is easier to understand things that are explained in terms of human actions that we indulge in naturally every moment. The connect and understanding is immediate. Understanding minute details about natural laws and their expressions is for the extraordinary seers and scientists, and not for us ordinary folk. We understand truth too, but differently, for every one of us is an elemental Vishnu, a descendant of the unmanifest, and our individual elemental Indras are our constant companions as well, coordinating the activities of our organs, tissues, bones, and nerves. In short, we are personified elemental truths, each one of us without exception.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
20.
तद्विष्णाः परमम् पदम् सदा पश्यन्ति सूरयाः दिवीव चक्षुरागतम्.
The seers behold always that highest region of Vishnu, as if their eye is extended in heaven. Remote viewing. The phrase, eye extended in heaven, in the verse, alludes to the expertise of remote viewing. The Patanjali Yoga Sutras explain ways to achieve this skill. Along with prescribed practices of discipline, it emphasizes on the need to concurrently strive for clarity of perception and acting from buddhi, intelligence, that is attuned to knowledge rather than the ahankara, ego, that is wedded to the self as a material body, considering it to be distinct from everything else. This essentially means becoming universe-centric from being self-centric, which is the default instinct. Another necessity is to train to gain mastery in stilling the mind at will and reducing mind clutter and chatter that is achieved through concentration and meditation. Every thought produces a wave in our consciousness. The trick is to extend this wave of consciousness to the object in focus, achieving remote viewing. The process is easily described in a few sentences, but involves a long period of effort in accomplishing it. And of course, provided we have been graced for this purpose or the happening is ordained, the two conditions perhaps being one and the same. The emphasis on quelling ego leads to the inference that the notion of profiting from this ability was restricted to actualize the need to acquire knowledge to become conscious of the workings of creation and the Creator, and realizing that we are indeed it. Even the thought of being able to be of benefit to everyone was a resurrection of the quelled ego, as the universe would anyway work only according to its own prepared script.
Mandalam 1, Suktam 22, Rik.
21.
तद्विप्रासो विपन्यवो जागृवाम् सस्वमिन्धते विष्णोर्यत्परमम् पदम्.
When enlightened seers, rejoicing in knowledge, watchful ones, together kindle that highest region of Vishnu. The way of seers and those of non-seers. Remote viewing, direct hearing, ego quelling, extending thought waves of consciousness to encompass the universe and the likes were the tools formulated by the ancient seers to probe nature, analyze data, and infer knowledge. Having known the truth and having quelled the ego, the need to brand themselves or their findings was moot. The only thing that needed to be branded was the unmanifest, which was an inconceivable exercise because the unmanifest was traitless, formless, everythingless. They rejoiced in the knowledge of the Supreme and reveled in interacting with anything created as they saw the Supreme in everything. They possessed nothing, having no ego, yet possessed the universe, being united in consciousness with the unmanifest. This, then, was the seer's lot, and is what is meant when it is said that they together kindle the highest region of Vishnu. The others, the non-seers, obviously by design, given the functional modus of the universe, recreate the scene in their realm of duality and in their own backyard, Earth. Every human society anywhere on the globe has always had a place of worship as its focal point around which that society thrived. Objects that, in their collective perception, represented notions of being eternal, of being infinitely large, of being omniscient, were deified and became their gods, keeping with the peculiarities of duality, of variety and change. That the expressions of these peculiarities mirror the dealings of the seers with the Supreme Consciousness is yet another affirmation of the fractal nature of existence.